Hey everybody, welcome back to Clipboard Cars. Today is not only a really rainy day, but it's also a rainy day for this Aston Martin, as we were going to give you guys a full episode on this car, except for Second Gear decided to leave the chat and we're just stuck with a Aston Martin that's a giant paperweight today. We'll still talk about it though, so sit tight, let's get to it. So the first exterior detail I want to cover on the car is the iconic Aston grille. I kind of call it a catfish grille, but that might be a bit of a slap in the face to this thing. Overall, when you see that grille coming down the road, you always know what kind of car it is, and that's an Aston Martin. The next exterior detail that I want to cover is the fact that the car is entirely made out of aluminum, and they try to do as few body panel gaps as possible. So you still have the standard amount of body panels, but they really tried to minimize how many gaps that there could be to make this one sweeping body line. So the next exterior feature I want to cover are the doors. Aston Martin doors are some of the coolest doors. Not quite cone and seg, but they're very subtle on how cool they are. So when you open them, push it, the handle comes out and you pull it out like that. But they open out and upwards. So that way if there's curbs, they open away from the curb so you don't smash the door on the sides. As well as the fact that you should be able to place the door anywhere you want and it'll stay open. Just like that. Another exterior detail I want to cover on this car is something that's really hard to show on camera. Pictures and video really don't do a car like this justice, but one of the striking things about this car is the fact that it's a low, flat, wide car. You don't really see that in video and photo, but when you see these cars in person, you're just like, wow, what the heck is that thing going down the road? And then you get up close, you're like, wow, that's an Aston. I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's what I want to say. All right, so the next feature I want to talk about are the actual heat extraction vents. These are true heat extraction vents because I can see right through it and see that glorious V12 engine that's sitting under there. So the last thing I want to cover is the headlight housings and the headlights themselves. So this car kind of dates itself. Obviously it's a 2010 and you got the bi-xenon headlights, but just the way they designed it, this flat, wide design, and then you have the two bulbs, it just looks super cool. The first interior feature I want to cover is the key itself. It has what they call the crystal tip, and you go ahead, you take the key in order to start it. You've got a start sequence right here where you take the key, put it into the middle of the dash, and then you push it all the way in. The actual dash will light this clear crystal part blue when it's in the ignition, and then when you go to push it to turn on, it lights the key up red. It's a very cool touch, as well as having the Aston Martin logo right there inside the glass. The next cool interior feature of the Aston Martin, and lots of Aston Martins, are the gauge clusters. These things are made out of one sheet of aluminum or titanium, I can't quite remember, but it literally looks like a Tag Heuer watch just looking right at it. Like, it is a super, super classy gauge cluster. Another interesting detail in the interior is Aston Martin was a bit ahead of the times when it came to how you shifted into gear as far as their automatic models go. So they actually have all the buttons on the dash for drive, neutral, reverse, and park. Something that most cars back then didn't have, because everybody had an actual shift lever. Modern days in 2020 and newer, then now you're going to have cars with turn dials or buttons or levers that can change gears. But Aston Martin pioneered the way. They gave you buttons to change gears. Another interesting interior detail is the handcrafted leather that they have everywhere in the interior. Like you can see all the hand stitching that goes up the center of the dash. The whole dash is leather. The seats are super soft, super comfortable. Another fun detail for the interior is the infotainment system. It actually folds up out of the dash. It is an extremely dated system, but if you're buying one of these cars, I promise you, you're not here for the infotainment system. You're here for what's under the hood, and that's that V12. I really wish we could get to drive this car today, but that's just not in the cards. So in true Aston Martin fashion, as far as old Aston Martins go, the hood latch has apparently failed to open the hood. So that's gonna be another thing for us to take a look at later on. Under the hood though is a 6-liter V12 naturally aspirated engine that just sounds glorious when you fire it up. This engine is pumping out 470 horsepower as well as 443 foot-pounds of torque, and may not sound like a lot to today's standards for a car like this, but back in 2010 when this car came out, it was a perfect number, and still technically is a perfect number if you're just wanting a good, quick Grand Touring car. You can get this car with 2 transmission options. You can get a 6-speed manual, which is the more sought-after version, or you could get the 6-speed automatic. 0 to 60 time for this car was about 4.6 seconds. That's a healthy number. It's still fast and fun to just go out and cruise with. Top speed's about 190 miles an hour. Miles per gallon, looking at about 11 in the city, 20 on the highway. Nobody buys these cars for gas mileage, but at least you know that figure. So that's gonna wrap up this episode with Clipboard Cars for today. Kind of disappointed that the car didn't run that great today, but stick around. We're gonna have more fun cars in the future, so make sure you like and subscribe. Pretty pumped to see what the future has.